Don't be like Charlie. Charlie is that do-it-yourselfer who does himself in. Do-it-yourself is good for tile and grout. It is not good for asset protection. Charlie thought he'd save a few dollars forming his LLC online. With no guidance, he did it wrong. When he sold the property, he lost thousands and thousands of dollars. He did himself in by trying to do it himself. Don't burn yourself. Use Corporate Direct to set up and maintain your LLCs and corporations. Corporate Direct is owned and operated by attorney and rich dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Garrett wrote the bestsellers Loopholes of Real Estate and Start Your Own Corporation. He is Robert Kiyosaki's attorney for asset protection. He and his team will do it right. Visit them at corporatedirect.com or call 800-600-1760. Mention Rich Dad and receive $100 off your formation fee. That's corporatedirect.com. corporatedirect.com.
Starting now, you can get a transcript of each week's Rich Dad radio show. Just visit www.richdad.com/radio and download a copy today.
This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
Hello. This is Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And we have a very important show today for you, as all of our shows are important. Let me say this. I am such an old guy that when I was growing up, we never locked our doors. Nobody broke into your house. We knew everybody. It was no problem. And as the years progressed, we started to lock our doors and we had to have, we had this security, that security. And it's gotten so bad that in our neighborhood, which is a very affluent neighborhood here in Phoenix, Arizona, we have to hire off-duty police officers to guard our houses. But I'm not talking about that kind of security. You see, today, you don't even have to lock your doors because you can put a padlock on your whole house. You can bury it in concrete and somebody will still get in. You see, it's a whole different world. And so it's a very special program. Our guest, Jennifer Granick, and she said something that there's people like me who say, oh, I don't have to worry. I have nothing to hide. Now, all of you idiots like me out there who are saying, oh, I don't have to worry. I have nothing to hide. This is your program for you because there's a lot that can be stolen from you. And, things like your addresses and whatever, because I don't understand that stuff. So we have a very important show for you today because remember, as a kid, I never locked the doors. And today, even with the biggest police force on town right next to you, you still are not secure on information that is priceless to you. Any comments, Kim?
Yes, well, this is a very important program for every single person. If you have an iPhone, if you have an iPad, this is your show because we're talking about cybersecurity. And I had no idea how rampant this problem is. And our expert, Jennifer Granick, she is with the Surveillance and Cybersecurity Council with the ACLU Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project. She is the author of American Spies, Modern Surveillance, Why You Should Care and What to Do About It. And this is going to be eye-opening for a lot of us because I don't think we realize what's going on out there, and it affects every single one of us.
And joining us in the Rich Dad studio is Rob LeCount, and he is our head guy on technology along with Shane Coniglia, the president. And the reason I want Rob here is because if Jennifer talks to me, Jennifer's a complete waste of time because I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, Jennifer, welcome to the show.
So, Rob, Rob, introduce yourself to Jennifer real quick.
Hi, Jennifer. My name's Rob. I've been with the company for about 12 years. I was a programmer for almost 20 years. I've been in technology for a very long time, so it's great to meet you. I love this topic.
We'll try to not nerd out too deeply.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's keep it fun.
Thank you.
So, Jennifer, speaking to a person like me who's naively going around with my head, up my what, saying, oh, I don't have to worry. I got nothing to hide. What do you say to me?
Everybody today, no matter how technologically knowledgeable you are, uses computer technology. Whether you have a cell phone or you pay with a credit card, that generates information about you that's stored in some kind of computer database. And once that information is there, it's accessible. It's accessible potentially to criminals. We aren't very good at securing information. And it's accessible potentially to governments, our government here in the United States and other governments as well. So your information is out there, and people are interested in it for all kinds of reasons.
But the point is, talking to a guy like me, I'm almost one of these guys, I have nothing to hide. What I'm basically saying is I'm not a criminal, but it doesn't mean I don't have something I need to protect, like my privacy and things like this. So what am what am I at risk? What specifically am I at risk of losing?
Right. Well, everybody has something that they want to hide from somebody. A comment about a coworker that maybe wasn't very kind, something that you don't want your mom to know. Everybody has something that they think is, that they'd rather not have people know. And that's because people are complicated. We're different people at home with our, spouses than we are out in public or at work. And it's natural and normal to want to be yourself in different circumstances. But I also think the claim that, we have nothing to hide is a very privileged one. There's a lot of people out there who are targets, and, their personal foibles, personal failings can be used against them to try to discredit them or to distract them or to make things really hard and stop people from accomplishing what they want to accomplish. So there's a lot of historical examples.
Right. And so, Jennifer, what is the threat we're facing specifically? Is there a threat from our government? What is the threat that we're facing today? And it seems to be getting worse.
I mean, one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is how much surveillance governments do. Our government does. And, in the olden days, when you thought about surveillance, you were like, okay, there's a suspect. They're suspected of doing some kind of crime. And so police are going to investigate that person. But increasingly, it's the mainstream people who have information being collected about us, and not for any particular reason, just because the information is out there and it's cheap and easy to get. There's no better example than a surveillance program we learned about from Edward Snowden. For years, the U.S. government was collecting phone call records. Everybody we called and everybody who called us in bulk about Americans, all American. And that's pretty unprecedented. Technology has enabled it, but wasn't something that you could do before. But now it's something that governments, including ours, are very interested in doing.
So
Did you know that? Did you know that all of your phone numbers, everybody who called you and everybody who you called, was in some government database?
Well, yes. that's what I'm trying to say to you is I have this idea, I have nothing to hide, but what are they going to do with the stuff I'm calling? Because I've really gotten, not that I'm famous, but I've been accused of everything possible on planet Earth. We have more criminals coming at me now than ever before. So I just kind of clam up and say nothing. Is that right, Mr. LeCount?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that outside your privacy. I mean, most people in their phones put all their passwords. They put their credit cards. You've got Apple
financial
Wallet.
information.
You have, literally everybody's carrying their personal life around in their pocket.
And how do they access that stuff?
Reverse engineering. There's so many different ways people can access it. You could just go to a website, click on a button, and it can steal your passwords that you might have used previously, say for your email or account. There's just so many ways that they can just place your information.
We've all heard about credit card numbers being stolen. Is that pretty common now? Is that lightweight? I mean, there's more valuable stuff than your credit card number?
It happens quite frequently. I mean, you hear about data breaches all the time, and it might just be email addresses. It could be everything down to your entire purchase history on Amazon. Who knows? With the amount of data that's out there and stored about people, it tells a story about everybody, and everybody's at risk.
And Jennifer, you mentioned in your book, American Spies, that a lot changed since 9/11, and they passed this thing called the USA Patriot Act.
Right.
And what did that do?
I mean, basically, what September 11th did is it increased the appetite for information. The government was like, well, if the more information we have, the better we'll be able to do in fighting terrorism. And it increased the American public's acceptance of that argument. And so a lot of law and technology went into trying to get more information in the hands of the government. So, and, once you have that information, there's all kinds of things that people can tell about you, your religion, your job, whether you have medical issues, what those issues are, all just based even on simple information like who you call.
So Jennifer, what you say, I'm getting back to how naive I am saying I have nothing to hide. But what you're saying, I'm losing my privacy. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you're losing your privacy. I think for a lot of people, privacy seems kind of abstract. And what I'm trying to say is that privacy is really about your ability to live your life freely, to be left alone and to have your business remain your own business.
And privacy is valuable in certain hands of certain people. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you give us some example, like, something I'm naive about my privacy? What could be valuable to somebody out there?
Yeah, well, Rob was talking about, I think in a lot of ways, criminal attacks on your information, and somebody can impersonate you, open a credit card in your name, get your information, and trick your friends or businesses into extending you lines of credit, and that all can cause a lot of problems for people.
Well, we already have that because I have, we had somebody, I think they were from Nigeria, got a couple 100,000 out of a woman in Japan, promising that I would fly from Nigeria to Tokyo, right, Rob?
Yeah, she
like
pretended like she was you.
Yeah.
She communicated as if she was you. This person consumed your identity.
So what is Rich Dad doing to prevent fake Kiyosakis from running around out there making all these promises?
We do a lot of like the validated accounts. We do as much as we possibly can to validate who we are, where we are. We put measures in place so people can communicate to us and find out if who they're communicating to is real. We just spend a lot of time going over the scour on the internet looking for impersonators.
But you have to be actively vigilant
Daily
doing that, because Jennifer, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she said, well, anytime you click on something or you accept something, you're kind of saying it's okay, you can use my information. It's like almost like it's accepted, it's norm that, yes, you can have my information and use it how you want. And that just seems wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, and we expect these companies to take good care of our information, and we expect if the government gets our information that it will be used for proper purposes, like criminal prosecution, and not for improper purposes. I want to give you a historical example just to give people an idea of how serious this can be when information is abused. So, a little more than 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. And that speech today is very uncontroversial. My daughters memorized it in school. But at the time, Dr. King was extremely controversial. So much so that the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, had people, his agents, install microphones in Dr. King's hotel rooms, hoping to dig up dirt about him.
And they found out he had girlfriends on the side, right?
Yes, they found he had some relationships on the side of his marriage, and they wrote him, the FBI wrote him a letter threatening him, saying, give up your civil liberties work, and suggesting he should kill himself. Otherwise, they would reveal this very embarrassing information. Today we have lots of people who are activists on all kinds of issues. And, we need people to be able to participate freely and wholly in the public debate on these issues. That's what a democracy is about.
And Jennifer,
so for me, the reason, Go
ahead. Well, I just want to say everybody was thinking it was, it's crazy Hoover, it's crazy J. Edgar Hoover, but he got okayed by Robert Kennedy because he was the Attorney General. So it wasn't just one crazy guy going after King. It was the whole government was conspiring in this situation.
I totally agree. Hoover was FBI director for decades, and presidents approved what he was doing, Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah. So anyway, when we come back, we're going to be talking to you more about this. But if you can get more specific, what do the criminals want? Because I don't even know what they want. That's the bad thing.
And what can we do to protect ourselves against it?
But also, I want to ask you about Facebook, because as everybody in this company knows, I'm a Technosaurus Rex. I barely use my cell phone. And I don't understand, just because Facebook sold information to
and
Trump
Google and Apple
and all that
AOL.
stuff, what's the big deal? You gotta speak to the layman here. So when we come back, Jennifer, you gotta talk to me, because I'm the guy who says I don't have anything to worry about. I have nothing to hide. And you're putting into light right now that there's a lot to be concerned about. It's not hiding, it's about our privacy.
You're listening to The Rich Dad Radio Show with Robert Kiyosaki.
Don't be like Charlie. Charlie is that do-it-yourselfer who does himself in. Do-it-yourself is good for tile and grout. It is not good for asset protection. Charlie thought he'd save a few dollars forming his LLC online. With no guidance, he did it wrong. When he sold the property, he lost thousands and thousands of dollars. He did himself in by trying to do it himself. Don't burn yourself. Use Corporate Direct to set up and maintain your LLCs and corporations. Corporate Direct is owned and operated by attorney and rich dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Garrett wrote the bestsellers Loopholes of Real Estate and Start Your Own Corporation. He is Robert Kiyosaki's attorney for asset protection. He and his team will do it right. Visit them at corporatedirect.com or call 800-600-1760. Mention Rich Dad and receive $100 off your formation fee. That's corporatedirect.com. corporatedirect.com.
Financial freedom begins with financial education. Now back to Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Radio Show.
Welcome back. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And today we're talking about, idiots like me out there who say, well, I don't have to worry. I have nothing to hide, even though, like I said earlier, when I was a kid, you never locked your doors. Now, even if you lock your doors, it's like somebody sitting in there watching everything, stealing, going through everything you own, and they're in your companies and your businesses. They know everything about you. Every time you use a credit card, your cell phone, iPad, iPhones,
computer,
they're just gathering all this information. So it's not so much that I have nothing to hide as I'm losing all my privacy, and things that are important to be private are being stolen. So, Kim, why don't you talk, our guest today is Jennifer Granick, but why don't you tell the story about that friend of yours whose husband puts his cell phone in the microwave?
We were talking about cybersecurity, and so I was mentioning this show to a friend of mine, and she said, I have a very good friend, and he worked on the iPod project and the iWatch project, so he's pretty technically savvy and knows what's going on. He says every day he comes home after work, he takes his cell phone and he puts it in the microwave.
So this is a
so that nobody
very
hears or sees anything.
Very, very important program. And once again, you can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program anytime, anywhere on iTunes and Android. And all of our programs are archived at richdadradio.com. We archive them because repetition is how we learn best. So if you listen to this program again from richdadradio.com, you will pick up twice as much, but more importantly, you can have your friends, family, and business associates listen to this program with Jennifer Granick. And she is a surveillance and cybersecurity counsel with the ACLU. She litigates, speaks, and writes about privacy, security, technology, and constitutional rights. She is the author of American Spies, great title, Modern Surveillance, Why You Should Care, and What to Do About It. Her website is americanspies.com. And as I said, I am the Technosaurus Rex. I have nothing on this. That's why we have Rob LeCount, who is our guy here in the Rich Dad Company. And finally, I had to come off of Facebook because we have a team of about 5 people just protecting me from social media. Is that correct, Rob?
Yeah. We have an entire team that reviews everything, looks for imposters. I mean, you name it. We do everything.
But you personally also came off of social media, right?
I did. I actually, about 10 weeks ago, I completely gave up Facebook, absolutely all, LinkedIn, Twitter, unless I use it for business. On a personal side, I just gave it up because the amount of data and stuff they collect. And to be honest with you, I just don't trust the practices of a lot of these businesses. I think they're not looking out for their customer base. I think their bottom line's more important.
So, Jennifer, what do you think about that with social media? What's happening in the social media place?
It's an ad-based service. And the idea is to collect information about us and then figure out how to target ads to us. And that's what most of these free services are based on. So they're collecting information for a variety of reasons to improve the service, but mostly to be able to serve us with targeted ads.
So
it's kind of the price we pay for free services.
So the quick question is, what is, from your professional point of view, was the issue with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica?
I mean, I think the issue there was that Facebook was at the time set up so that a friend of yours was any friend you had could be the weak link. And if that friend used an application, it was possible for that application to get all of their friends' information, including yours. So get information about me, not because I decided to waive my privacy to some third party, but because a friend of mine did. And in fact, I got one of the, notices from Facebook saying that one of my friends did use the Cambridge Analytica test or quiz. And so some of my information, unclear exactly which, got to Cambridge Analytica. So Facebook changed those rules. I think this story, is in particular interesting to people because there were lies. The researcher who did the quiz lied about what they were going to do with the information, but it wasn't really all that abnormal at the time. I mean, the Obama administration also used this functionality to basically say to people, you support President Obama. We think your friends probably would support him too. Can we reach out to your friends?
So the stuff,
that was kind of praised as being a constructive use of the data.
So the stuff I read is that everybody's upset with Facebook because they got Trump elected. Is that just Trump haters out there? I mean, it's such everything's fake today. I mean, I don't believe
there's
anything.
A serious privacy issue here, which Facebook recognized and changed because they realized you don't want one weak link to be the reason why all your data gets out. But I do think one of the reasons why there's so much interest in the story now is because people are looking for some explanation about how Trump managed to win.
And you're with you're with the ACLU. What is the government doing with all this information?
Well, the government, to Kim's story about the cell phone, just look at that kind of information. Cell phones reveal our location to the cell phone company all the time. And the ACLU has a case in front of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States, asking whether there's privacy protections under the Constitution for that location information. The government says no. That information that your phone gives to the phone company to do billing or whatever, that they say, yeah, we can use that information, to look back and see where you were days, weeks, months into the past without having to show to any judge that we have a good reason. And the ACLU's argument in that case is no, you've got to, you can get the information, but it's got to be about a particular person who you suspect of a crime.
So why
you got to have a judge say yes.
So why would some criminal want that in where I was last week? I mean, what do they care?
Well, as Rob pointed out, the more you know about a person, the easier it is to impersonate them and trick people into thinking that it's you, to impersonate you, to open credit lines in your name, whatever it might be.
So, Jennifer, you got Facebook, you got social media, you've got the
Twitter.
FBI, you got NSA, National Security Association. What do we do to protect ourselves? Can we protect our privacy?
I'm optimistic, Kim. I'm an optimistic person. And I think, number one, technology put us in this situation, and technology can help us. So use technology that protects your data. And that, to a large extent, means encryption. Information, when it's stored, should be encrypted so that if an attacker, whether it's a criminal or an identity thief, gets access to it, they can't read it, can't use it. And information that you send back and forth over the internet should be encrypted. Encryption is very important. It basically takes the problem that Robert identified, which is what's happening today, and turns back time to make it a safer time.
So, Rob, can the average person do encryption?
So what's really neat about encryption is it's a thorn in the government side. I don't know if you remember a few years back, or a couple years ago, maybe it was just a year ago. The San Fernando, what was the place?
San Bernardino.
San Bernardino. They couldn't access their phones. And remember, they went to Apple because Apple has special encryption technology. So everything on your phone is encrypted. So unless you have the credentials, and now it's facial scanning and everything else, unless you have those credentials, you can't access the data on your phone. Even the NSA, even the CIA, nobody can access that data. So actually, Apple's a really good platform to protect your information. They don't even want to create tools to reverse engineer that encryption.
So how do I encrypt my
They have special messaging apps. So since you use an iPhone, say your notes in your iPhone, they're already encrypted. It's already encrypted.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff's already protected pretty well.
A lot of companies are doing it by default, making it really easy for people. So iMessage to iMessage is encrypted. As long as you don't save it up on iCloud. There's a text message program I use called Signal. And if you do Signal instant messages with other people, those are encrypted. For web stuff, you can download a little thing that will make sure your web traffic is always encrypted if it's possible. So it's getting easier and easier. In some cases, you don't have to do anything, just use the products as they are. And I think the second thing that you want to do with technology is two-factor authentication. Basically, what this means is if somebody's figured out your password, they still can't get into your account. because you have another backup. So basically, two-factor authentication is something you know, something you have. So you've got to know the password, and then you've got to have something like your phone. So you put in your password, and then it'll text your phone.
Exactly.
And then you put the number from the text message into the website, and then you get in. And basically what that does is it means that password guessers or machines that guess your password, they can't get into your accounts, and that's super helpful.
So number one is encryption. Number two, what was it?
Two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication.
Lots of services offer it, but it's buried in settings for a lot of things because there's an end user training problem with it some way.
Yeah, you lost me a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why we're going to go to Rob and say, Rob, would you do this for us?
Exactly, yes.
But you can go online and figure out, right, what these are.
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty soon I'm going to be using smoke signals. It'll be a lot easier for me.
They'll find a way to track that.
So let's talk about
I think another category of stuff is the law. I mean, the law is here to protect us. And I think people can go to your legislator and say, we want to make sure that our data isn't used indiscriminately. We want to make sure that if somebody comes and is going to read our email or is going to track our location or is going to investigate, where we go and who we know and what doctors we talk to, that it's for a good reason and not for no reason. And that means putting protections on the data in law. And not enough people ask their legislators to take those steps.
I think we need stronger consequences for those that abuse it as well.
But don't those guys just run and hide really quickly? I mean, every time I talk to you guys in the Never Never Land in the IT department, it's like that whack-a-mole. You hit one on the head, another one pops up, and I just don't see the solution in being optimistic on that thing.
I mean, the problem with it is these people it could be in Bosnia, Nigeria. I mean, it could be anywhere in the world.
Right.
I mean, really, there's no legal recourse. I mean, it's about just hardening up your infrastructure and protecting yourself. You can't do a lot of stuff against these people, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll say it again, is that, Rob and the team there, they had to take me off of Facebook and Twitter because I was just a target stuff coming in.
Yep.
And it's almost like we're playing defense more than we're playing offense in this whole thing.
We are constantly on defense.
And Jennifer, what do you think about getting off of social media? I mean, what about, for example, you got your young people, the young audience, the millennials and all of that. They grew up with all of this. I mean, very different from your 50, 60-year-olds. They're kind of addicted to it.
I got into this field because I love technology. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and I love it, and I think people should be able to use it and enjoy it. It's great to be able to connect with friends across the country or around the world, to be able to see what people in other countries are experiencing. But I do think that that those companies need to, take steps to make sure to protect our data. And it's hard. Like you guys said, defense is hard, but it's an ongoing process.
So Jennifer, I'll ask you a quick question here. Your book, American Spies, is it written for the average guy like me?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's written for, just people who are interested and who care. And I try to make it make something complicated, which is the technology and the law, something that everybody will find accessible.
So anybody who is doing any communication really should get American Spies.
I think so. I mean, I've read parts of it, and it's Jennifer, you've written it very, very well, and it's very much for the non-tech person, and it really is quite eye-opening. We didn't really touch so much on how eye-opening it is, what is really going on with all the spying on Americans, on people throughout the world. It's a major problem, and anything I think we can do to lessen it, we need to take those steps.
Thank you, Kim.
I really appreciate it. You've disturbed me immensely, Jennifer. But I'm glad.
Mission accomplished.
I'm glad Rob LeCount is here because I know I'm in good hands. If I was trying to protect myself, there'd be nothing done. And at least these guys are. I mean, Jennifer, what you're talking about, they talk to me on a regular basis about how it's whack-a-mole. You do something, they do something else. You do something, they do something else.
They get smarter. They get smarter and smarter.
And so, again, without people like you and Rob and letting people like me understand this stuff, I really appreciate what you're doing. So once again, thank you for your time, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And
it's been a great conversation.
Thank you. When we come back, we're going to ask Robert.
You're listening to The Rich Dad Radio Show with Robert Kiyosaki.
Don't be like Charlie. Charlie is that do-it-yourselfer who does himself in. Do-it-yourself is good for tile and grout. It is not good for asset protection. Charlie thought he'd save a few dollars forming his LLC online. With no guidance, he did it wrong. When he sold the property, he lost thousands and thousands of dollars. He did himself in by trying to do it himself. Don't burn yourself. Use Corporate Direct to set up and maintain your LLCs and corporations. Corporate Direct is owned and operated by attorney and rich dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Garrett wrote the bestsellers Loopholes of Real Estate and Start Your Own Corporation. He is Robert Kiyosaki's attorney for asset protection. He and his team will do it right. Visit them at corporatedirect.com or call 800-600-1760. Mention Rich Dad and receive $100 off your formation fee. That's corporatedirect.com. corporatedirect.com.
It pays to listen. Now back to Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Radio Show.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, the good news and bad news about money. And I'm coming out with another book soon. It's called Fake. You know, fake money, fake teachers, and fake assets. And everything today is fake, and we don't know what's real. This is a very exciting program. We had Jennifer Granick. She's a Surveillance and Cybersecurity Counsel of the ACLU Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project. She's author of American Spies, Modern Surveillance, Why You Should Care and What to Do About It. Her website is americanspies.com. And once again, thank you to Jennifer. And we're going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of Ask Robert, we're going to shift it to Ask Rob LeCount because, as I said earlier, I am the Technosaurus Rex, and all I heard was we got a problem, and I don't know how to handle the problem yet. So let me just tell you something. This is kind of my ancient philosophy on the problem. When I was in Vietnam, we had this little machine called the KY-28. It was hooked up to our radios. And every time we flew into combat, we could be listening to the Viet Cong talking to each other, and they were listening to us. So then our commanding officer was saying, okay, gentlemen, go covered. And that meant that everybody that was the good guys, they had this special number. So you hit this button, and it was, let's say, J19, 29, you're covered. And then we'd be talking, and then about 20 seconds later, the Viet Cong joined the conversation. And we'd be going, well, who am I talking to now? And that's how I kind of felt talking to Jennifer. I said, okay, we got a problem. They're listening in on us. They're spying on us. It's like having a spy inside my house, inside my business.
Inside your car.
Inside your pocket.
But they're 10 times smarter than me because they can accumulate all this data, decipher it, analyze it. I don't know how to do that. So, Houston, we have a problem. So instead of me asking me questions, which would be a waste of time on this subject, I'm going to ask Rob LeCount because he's the guy. Like I said, I'm off social media because there's too many fake Kiyosakis out there. Any comments, Kim?
Well, yeah, and we're going to talk to Rob with our questions because when you talk about social media, you talk about the government, and this is out of Jennifer's book, American Spies. She says that the NSA has this new program, or not a new program, but a program called PRISM. And what PRISM does is PRISM routes emails, instant messages, and other digital communications from 9 online platforms: Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, Facebook, Paltalk, YouTube, Apple. And it sends all of this information to spies at the NSA. Okay, so they're in cahoots, and they're smart people.
What is that? What goes into your brain? What do you want to say to that?
Well, I've known that they've collected data for years, and it's under the guise of data is anonymous, right? They don't connect any unique identifier because they're just trying to collect overall data so they can see trends in things and try and shape things or detect disease or whatever. But it's supposedly anonymous. I've never actually believed that data is anonymous. I think that they collect raw data just as it is, and they tie it back to you as an individual. Data
is power, right?
Data is as powerful as anything.
So who has more power today, Mark Zuckerberg or President Trump?
I think at this day and age, I think people like Mark Zuckerberg definitely have more control
Jeff
because
Bezos.
they definitely have they have the information, the data to be able to influence large groups of people, which I think is far more powerful than
Trump's pretty good, isn't he?
He is for
Twitter and
about 49% of the population.
But you're not spending half your day like you do on, like a lot of people do on Facebook.
Exactly.
Posting this, posting that, personal information.
And ironically, they're being gone after because, there's a original I was watching a TV show the other day. They had Mark Zuckerberg, one of his original mentors, also one of the original investors in Facebook. He's completely backed out, and now he's somewhat against Facebook because of their practices. They're starting to implement new technology that brings younger generations into the platform. The platform's intentionally designed to be addictive so they can collect information on you.
It's intentionally designed to be
Intentionally is designed to be addictive.
Wow.
So you just said that you're backing off of anything superfluous like social stuff.
Social.
What is your logic behind that?
It's multi-pronged. One, I'm a private person, and I didn't want to share my information anymore. And also, I found that it was a massive waste of my time. I've recently.
Hey man, that's what I've always thought about.
Yeah, and so I wanted to recoup that time to spend with my family, work on my businesses, read more, and just sort of engage the way we used to in life, as opposed. And I've been so much happier, to be honest with you. My life is flipped upside down since I stopped using social media. So it's actually been very beneficial for me.
Yeah, is Twitter in that same category?
Yes.
They can suck information.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that keeps you drawn into it. I mean, think of Instagram, like people looking at people's pictures all day.
You're talking about stuff I know nothing about.
Yeah. Anyway. Instagram is just pictures. It's pictures of people all day long, what they're doing, what they have, and it's just so superficial, and it's just not who I am.
So what Jennifer said was that so she's just a friend of somebody else, but that friend of somebody else is they're getting all those friends' data?
So this is interesting, too, and I sort of have a take on it that might be a little bit different than a lot of people. I don't know if you've ever used any of these apps in social media, and when you pop it up, it says, hey, we need to give access to X to the developer. That data is, we just need some of your light personal information so, we can customize the experience. I've always been a skeptic, and as a technologist, below it in almost the same color ink, they have text that says click here to see what those permissions are. I've always clicked on those because you can actually go through and deactivate things. Developers could choose what they wanted to collect on you. We've built social media apps here. I know exactly what the process is. You can collect any data that you want, or at least you could have before. And it's hidden behind this little, do you accept it? Well, when you accept it, it's asking for access to your friends list. When it gives access to your friends list, that's what penetrates. That's what you are giving access to somebody else's social media platform.
So you're giving access to your friends' information without their permission.
Exactly, and that's where the problem.
So Rob LeCount is our chief guy here, along with Shane Condiglia, and Kim and I have the luxury of having guys like you and Shane protecting us. So let's say we're talking to somebody out there who doesn't have the. It's expensive, right?
It is expensive.
Doesn't have that team
you have an
behind
entire
them.
team
What
behind
would you
it.
say to the average guy out now with their little cell phone and Google and Amazon account?
Well, I mean, honestly, the easiest answer is stop using it. I mean, that's the absolute. Is that reasonable for a lot of people? No. I mean, a lot of people are addicted to it, and it's a legitimate addiction to get on social media and sort of have to have that reinforced every day. Or is it okay to say stop using Amazon, the biggest place to shop on the internet? Probably not. I think being cognizant just about what you visit, what you do, and just being more aware of the things that you're doing and actually read things is hugely beneficial because most people don't. They just click things, they accept terms, they do whatever. They just don't pay attention to what they're doing.
They're a little apathetic about it,
Yeah.
aren't they? Most people, they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to click. Oh yeah, they're going to get my information.
Oh, they
Okay,
already
it's
have all my
okay.
data anyways. What do I care,
yeah.
right?
Well, that was my attitude when I read Jennifer's promo to get on this program. Is I don't have to worry about nothing to hide, but
Right.
our privacy is important.
Your privacy is important.
Final words on this. A lot of younger kids don't understand privacy yet.
They don't or value it.
And as an older, younger guy, what does that mean when you have young kids, like probably your kids coming up and they don't value privacy? What's that going to mean?
Well, my daughter is 6 years old, and I would be willing to bet by the time my daughter's 18 years old, the idea of privacy won't be anything we would recognize. I don't even think there would be such a thing as privacy other than maybe having walls around your shower, right? That might be deemed private, but I don't think your personal information or anything like that. We've gotten to a point where we're willing to share whatever we need to share to get the things that we want in life, and I think that's diminishing privacy as we knew it.
Wow. Thank you for contributing, a depth of wisdom that I definitely do not have, and you guys know that.
It's my pleasure.
So I appreciate it. I'm also thank Jennifer Granick, author of American Spies. Please get that book if you cannot afford a Rob account in your personal life. The book is cheaper than Rob, let me tell you. And the website is americanspies.com. So I thank you all for listening. Very important subject because it is the whack-a-mole world. You whack one mole, two more pop up.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.